So welcome to today's AZTurboCourt Administrator Training. My name is Stephen Kimmelman with Intrasys. We are the makers of AZTurboCourt. And in today's training webinar, we'll cover all of the administrator roles within AZTurboCourt and all of their functionality. There are currently 3 different administrator roles. And so I'm just going to walk you through each of them, as well as for those of you that are new to AZTurboCourt, just how to quickly set up your firm's account. So let's go ahead and take a look at the software. All right, so here we are at the TurboCourt Filer Portal. Now this is a testing and training environment, hence the red warning sign that you see there. But this looks very similar to what you will encounter when you are in production. And so first off, in order to work with AZTurboCourt, your firm needs to set up an AZTurboCourt account. There's no cost for doing that, and it's very quick to do. I'll show you that in just a moment. And this is true whether you're a firm of 1 person or 1,000. It really doesn't matter. You'll go through the same process. And so to do so, you'll see the login button, and then you'll see the sign up button. So in order to create our account, I'm going to click sign up. And then fields with an asterisk on this screen are required. So I'll just very quickly create my firm's account. And you can optionally provide answer the security question and answer. This is optional, but it is helpful because it'll allow you to automatically recover your password if you happen to forget it. If you don't do it right now, that's fine. You can always return to your profile afterwards and set this up. But I'll just go ahead and do that right now. So you select from one of the available questions and then just provide a corresponding answer. And that's it. Click sign up. And now I'm going to indicate the type of account that I'm setting up within AZTurboCourt. For purposes of today's training, I'm going to indicate an attorney/law firm. But if you happen to be, let's say, a state attorney general's office, for example, you might select exempt government organization. All right, so that's that. I click continue, and because I indicated we are a law firm, I need to provide at least at this point the law firm's name. I'll leave the rest of those fields blank for the time being. Click sign up. And now my firm is being created, and there we go. So I've just created our firm's account in AZTurboCourt, and I am our first user. Okay, so here I am on my home screen. And if you ever need to update your profile, there are a couple different ways you can access it. One is this profile button here in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you there. Also, you'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a user menu, and you'll see a link called My Profile there as well. And so if I click on that one, it brings me to my profile. It shows me that we've been registered as an attorney/law firm, and it's showing me my access level. So first of all, everybody that registers with AZTurboCourt is given the access level of user, which means that I can prepare and submit filings. Now, that may not be my role at my firm, but everybody is given the user access level. So I can prepare and submit filings if I needed to and want to. I can also manage my own profile. And then here you see the 3 different administrator access levels, the 3 different administrator roles, and I'll be covering those in detail. Now, because I am our firm's first user, I was in fact the one who created our firm's account. By default, I'm given all 3 administrator roles, and I will always have these roles. Now, this does not mean that I actually need to perform those functions. You're going to be able to give administrator access to any of your other folks within your organization, within your firm. So you can have multiple financial administrators, multiple filing administrators, multiple company administrators, for example. Okay, but because I am the first user, I will always have those roles. Okay. Now here a phone number is required, so I'll just go ahead and put that in. If I am an attorney who's going to be submitting filings, then you'll want to go ahead and provide your state bar number and the corresponding issuing state. And this is because as a filer, AZTurboCourt will often generate documents for you that will be filed with the courts. And the header of those documents is pre-populated, which includes your state bar number. And so rather than having to type it in each time, by simply having it here in your profile, we'll just automatically grab it. And so I'm only entering it this one time, and then we use it from that point going forward. Here again, that security question and answer if you want to add it or update it. And then any changes you may have made to the screen at the very bottom, just click Update. So it's very simple to update your profile. Now, another thing I want to show you on your profile, so I'm going to return there. This time I'll click on the button in the upper right-hand corner. If you ever want to change your password, you'll see on your profile this Request New Password with this right-facing arrow. And if you were to click on that right-facing arrow, it will simply tell you that you've been emailed instructions. So just go ahead and open up that email, click on the link, and it's going to allow you to very quickly change your AZTurboCourt password. Okay? Click Return to Home, back on my home screen. Now, there was one other link on your profile. Go there one more time, and that is regarding your email preferences. I'm going to hold off on showing you that for the moment, but I will come back to that. Okay? All right, so back to my home page. So that's it. I mean, it's very simple to set up your firm's account and to update your profile, and you're ready to proceed with other things. So I'm going to first show you the functionality of the company administrator, okay? And so the company administrator can manage your firm's profile information. It can the company administrator can also add and manage users. And so you'll see in the user menu a link called My Organization. And when you click on that, it's going to show you some contact information for your firm as well as all of your users. Now, this is a brand new firm that we've just set up for AZTurboCourt. I'm the first and only user at the moment, and so this is what it's going to look like. All right, and if I need to add more folks to our firm's account, I would click Add User Account. Okay. So rather than me doing this from scratch with a brand new firm, I actually am going to log out now and log in as an administrator who for a firm that's been doing a lot of work with AZTurboCourt to actually show you more functionality. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Quit, and then start a new session. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as an administrator, but for a firm that's been doing a lot of different filings and has lots of users already in it. All right, so this is Attorney Donna. She is an attorney. She also happens to be an administrator. She also submits filings, okay? And so you'll notice that her homepage looks very different than the homepage, at least the top portion of it does, looks very different than the homepage of that brand new user, because she is somebody who's been submitting filings, and so there are a number of things here that she can do. Now, as an administrator, this may never be something that you're going to see if you yourself are not a filer, but I do want to show it to you so that you can see what your filers encounter, what they're going to experience. So if they ever have questions about this, you'll have an understanding of what they're talking about. So first off, what we do is, as you are creating and submitting filings, we show the 5 most recent filings that you've been working on, okay? Now, you actually have access to all of your filings. There's a way to do that, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. But we always show on the homepage the 5 most recent filings in case you're still working on them, okay? They each have a unique number, and we refer to this as a form set, and those terms are synonymous. So a filing and a form set, they are one and the same thing, okay? And so they're each given a unique form set number. And if I wanted to look at or work on any of these recent filings, I could simply click on any of these form set numbers, and it would take me right into that filing where I could continue working on it or see the status of it or whatever I need to do with that, okay? Here it's showing the case number if there is one, the submission name, typically the case name, and the case type, and the status, and there's lots of different statuses, and I'll talk about that in more detail a little bit later on, okay? So that's the first thing. The next has to do with these two indicators here. So let's first talk about these messages. As a filer, when you successfully deliver a filing electronically to the courts, for example, this one here, AZTurboCourt will automatically start sending you status updates as to what's going on with that filing, okay? So again, we use certain terms synonymously. So courtesy messages, courtesy notifications, status updates, those are all one and the same thing, okay? And so anytime I'm logged into AZTurboCourt, I can see these status updates, these courtesy messages that are coming back automatically from the court through AZTurboCourt to me as to the status of any of my delivered filings. So for example, it might be a message, the very first one will say something like, thanks for submitting your forms to, Pima Superior Court, for example. You'll be notified when your forms have been processed, and there might be some additional information on that message, right? So that would be the first one. Then later on, you might receive a message that says, we've accepted your form set number 38107. Here's your new case number, right? If it was for case initiation, as an example. All right, so you get these different status updates, these courtesy messages. And you can access them and see them anytime you're logged into AZTurboCourt. There's several ways of accessing them. One of them is right here through this indicator. You'll also notice in the user menu, it'll say messages, and whatever that number is, it'll show there as well. Now again, this is a testing and a training environment, so this person's been doing lots of filings and not actually specifically looking at those messages, so that number's been growing and growing. If I were to click on that number, it would just show me a long list of all of my filings and all of these incoming status updates. Okay, so that would be one way to see the messages. There are others, and I'll show you that as well. The key here, though, is that I don't actually have to click on this number and look at these messages through this mechanism. It's just really a courtesy notification for you if you want to access the messages that way. If, for example, I wanted to see what's going on with this delivered filing, I could just click on the form set number and see the status of it. I don't actually have to read that courtesy message, okay? So that's why you may actually never read those messages, and that's perfectly fine. This other indicator, again, as a filer, and in particular as an attorney, you yourself may get e-served by another attorney who is working with AZTurboCourt, opposing counsel on a case, right? And rather than them using paper service, traditional means of service, they take advantage of AZTurboCourt's e-service. And if I'm e-served, the moment I log into AZTurboCourt, I'm going to see that. So this is telling me that I've been e-served on 9 separate filings that I have not yet looked at, those documents. Now, I don't know if they're all in the same case, if they're on different cases, I haven't looked yet. But the moment I log in as a filer, specifically as an attorney who might be getting e-served, I can see that I've been e-served on something, right? And again, I'm just going to very quickly show you this from the filer's perspective in case you're ever needing to provide guidance to your filers. So if I click on that number 9, it's going to show me everything that I've been e-served on. So it looks like I'm involved in this Arizona Supreme Court case. There's been 2 separate filings that I got e-served on, and then this Mid-First Bank case in Pima, lots of filings going on there. And so let's just imagine that these are documents that were filed by opposing counsel on these cases, and they e-served me, okay? So I could simply click on the View Documents link here for any of these and see all of the documents that they just filed with the court, right? I can bring them up on screen, I could print them, I could save them to my hard drive or my network drive, whatever I need to do with them, okay? So that's the e-service indicator. I'm going to go back to my home page now. Just click on that home button at the top. All right, so again, these are the things that a filer within your firm may be seeing when they first log in. All right, so back to the role of the company administrator. All right, so back on my user menu, I'm going to click on the My Organization link again. And you'll see here, we've got 36 users, including myself, within our firm. Right? So you've already got a lot more activity going on. And we've got this contact information here. All right. So if at any point in time you want to edit this organization information, then the button here at the top, Edit Organization Info, is what you want to click on. And as always, that field with an asterisk is required. Everything else is optional. And so this is where you can edit any of this contact information, main contact information for your firm. Okay? Then below, you'll see a couple of different areas for courtesy notifications. You've got a notifications inbox and a received e-service inbox. And in either or both of these fields, you could provide an email address. And how this works is as follows. So if I'm a filer, if I'm an attorney or a paralegal and I'm submitting filings to the court, then I'm going to get those status updates, those courtesy notifications as to what's going on with that filing, right? I'm the filer, I get those status updates. As the company administrator, you could provide an email address here that is essentially like a global inbox for all of your filers' status messages, right? So somebody with oversight, it could be a central docketing function, a central docketing clerk, for example, right? So as an example, okay? And if you click on the information icon next to the notifications inbox, it'll explain to you in more detail what this is. But essentially, it means that every single courtesy notification that's coming back to the filers within your firm, a copy of that will all go into this one central email inbox. So again, somebody with access to that email inbox can have oversight of all of the different filings that the folks within your firm are submitting through AZTurboCourt. Okay? And it's optional. You don't need to do it, but you have that ability. And then in a similar fashion, you can have a global inbox for those incoming e-service notifications. So if any of your attorneys are being e-served, again, they're going to get notified, but you could provide some sort of an email address, and then anybody within your firm that has access to this email inbox can see all of the incoming e-service notifications. Okay? And if you wanted to, you could actually use the same email address for both. That's fine as well. And these are optional. Okay? So there you go. As the company administrator, you'd be setting up, if you have a need for this, the inbox for notifications, as well as the inbox for received e-service. Okay, so that was the Edit Organization Info button. Now let's go ahead and add a new user to our firm. So to do so, I click Add User Account here at the top. And again, I just fill out the fields that are required. This may be an attorney, but I don't know their bar number, so they can fill it in themselves. I'll skip the additional access for just a moment. By default, of course, they're going to be active. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up a password for them initially. And then they'll be able to update that themselves. So before I proceed, let me just explain that once I'm ready to go, and if I click Add, then what's going to happen is, first of all, they'll be added to our firm's account for AZTurboCourt so they can start working with it. They will also automatically be sent an email in that moment, and the email will have a link that will bring them here to AZTurboCourt. It'll also include their username, which is typically basically it's going to be their email address. And then for security purposes, though, the password that you initially set up for them is not included in that same email. So you'll want to give them their password separately. Okay? So now let's talk about administrator access. I mentioned earlier on, you can have as many administrators within your firm as you'd like. So multiple administrators of each type. And you can give a person one or several or all or none. And if you don't check any of the boxes, then they're just added as a user, which means they can manage their own profile, prepare and submit filings. So if I click on the information icon next to the additional access, it describes each of these three. So first, let's talk about the company administrator, because that's what I'm currently focusing on. As the company administrator, I can add users, I can change their status to inactive, I can update their information, change their passwords, I can also edit my organization's profile, as you just saw, and that also gives me the ability to set up those incoming global inboxes for courtesy notifications and incoming e-service notifications. Okay, so those are all the things a company administrator can do. The filing administrator has access to all of the filings across the entire organization. So again, if I'm an attorney, I can see my filings, but I can't see the filings of the attorney down the hall from me. Or if I'm a paralegal, likewise, I can see whatever I've submitted, but I can't necessarily see what somebody else has submitted. The filing administrator can. You'll actually have global access to everything that's coming through AZTurboCourt via your firm's account. And you can look at everybody's, you can zone in on just a particular filer's filings, a particular attorney's filings and things like that. I'll actually show you all of that, okay? And then the financial administrator, if it's desired, you can pre-register payment methods such as a credit card, a corporate checking account, for example, and then grant access for folks within your firm to use those for the AZTurboCourt filings to pay court filing fees and things like that. Okay, so the financial administrator can manage all of that. They can also view financial reports for either individual users within your firm, but as well, again, across your entire organization. And so I'll show you that functionality in detail. Okay, so those are the three administrator access levels. All right, so for this new user, Zelig Test 10.3, I'm just going to leave him as a regular user, not give him any financial or filing or company administrator access. And I'm simply going to click Add, give the system a moment, and then these are all alphabetical. Looks like we've got a lot of Zeligs. Let me go to the next page here. You'll notice at the bottom, I'll just go to the next page. And there's my Zelig Test 10,003. Okay? And I'm just going to go back. So it's very easy to add new users. Now, if you ever need to update user information from this very same screen, simply click on their username, or rather their name. Okay? And if you need to, you can edit their information here. So for example, let's just say Alan is leaving the firm. Well, you don't want to delete him because you need access to all of those filings that he's been working on, right? And so what you do is you simply change his status to inactive. That means that he's no longer going to be able to log in to his AZTurboCourt account with your firm, okay? But the filing administrator will still have access to all of his filings, and the financial administrator can access all of the financial information related to his filings, okay? Fees and things like that. Okay, so you can just simply make him inactive. I'll do that right now, click Update. And so he's still in your list of users, but he's inactive. Now let's say 6 months go by, and he returns to the firm, or whatever that might be. And you want to have him start using AZTurboCourt again. Well, you don't need to create his account from scratch. All you need to do is reactivate him. So once again, I'll click on his name and change his status back to active. Click Update. And now he can once again do whatever he needs to do with AZTurboCourt within your firm. And he has access to all of his previous work that he already did, because I simply reactivated his old account. Okay. Let me just go back to him again. I'll click on him one more time. Now, you can, of course, at any time add or remove administrator access to any of your users. Again, this is all in the realm of the company administrator. And if he forgets his password, and if he didn't set up a security question and answer to automatically recover his own password, or maybe he did and he even forgets that, basically he's locked himself out, then you can come to his account and change his password again, and then give him the new password, and then once he logs in, then he can manage his own account again from that point forward. Okay. Okay. So what you've just seen is, first of all, setting up your firm's account, editing your organization's contact information, setting up, if you want to, global inboxes for courtesy notifications as well as e-service notifications, how to add a new user and give them administrator access, how to update that user, make them inactive, right? So these are all the things that the company administrator can do. Now, you'll also notice on this screen, which is just, again, as a reference, we're on the My Organization screen where I'm doing all of this. You'll also see this area showing assigned payment accounts. These are, again, these pre-registered payment methods like credit cards and savings accounts or checking accounts that are being used to pay the various fees for e-filing. Okay. I'm actually not going to show you that right now because that really is the realm of the financial administrator. It happens to be on this same screen, and so I didn't want to just pretend it wasn't there, but this is the realm of the financial administrator, and I'll come back to that in just a bit. Okay, so there you go. That is the company administrator. And so now I'm going to log out, basically quit as this person, and now instead I'm going to log in as a filing administrator within our firm. By the way, if you and your filers ever want to quicken the time it takes to log in, you can set up a single-click login by connecting your AZTurboCourt login with any of your social media account logins. Now, we don't share information back and forth between AZTurboCourt and your social media account. You can click this Read More link to learn more about that. All we're doing is connecting the logins because right now I have to type in my email address, my password, and click login. But if I were to, for example, say, hey, I want to connect my LinkedIn login, I can just click this button, Continue with LinkedIn, provide my email address and password for my LinkedIn account, and click Sign In. And that's it. I just do that one time. I'm not actually going to do that right now, but that's all I need to do. And then from that point forward, anytime I want to log into AZTurboCourt, I just single-click Continue with LinkedIn, right? So it just saves me some time. All right, so for this filing administrator, I'm going to go ahead and log in the traditional way by providing my email address and my password. And I'll click Login. Okay, so I've just logged in as a filing administrator for our firm. Now you'll notice on my home screen, this table, there are no entries in it. And that's because I'm not actually a filer within our firm. I'm not preparing and submitting filings. I happen to be just the filing administrator. Okay. Notice also that in my user menu, I have the link to manage my own profile, but I do not have the My Organization link because I'm not a company administrator, so I don't get access to that. So your login credentials will affect what you see and can do. All right, so the primary function of the filing administrator is to be able to see all of the filings across the entire organization, across the entire firm. There are a number of ways you can access them. So first of all, from your home screen here, you can click List All. That will bring you to the search screen that will give you access to all of the firm's filings. Also in the user menu, you've got a link called My Forms. And again, we use these terms synonymously. So my forms, my form sets, my filings, that's all one and the same thing. So I'll go ahead and click on this link here, My Forms, and it brings me to a search screen where I can access any filing within our firm. Now by default, we count back 30 days and show you that date. So we're immediately giving you the entire firm's filings over the last 30 days. Okay, so I can see our firm is working on or has submitted whatever, they're in different statuses, but 22 different filings. Again, they may be on separate cases, they may all be on one big case, we can take a look. These fields at the top are the different fields that you can use to find what you're looking for. Now, each one of these rows represents a unique filing, a unique form set. And by default, this list is sorted based on the form set number. So you'll have the biggest form set number at the top. But I can click on any of these column headings and resort this list. So I could resort it, let's say, based on the case number and group them that way. Right? Or maybe based on who actually was working on them. So now I'm grouping them, like looking at all of Donna's filings, and let's just scroll down, and now we've got Karina's filings, for example. I'll come back to the keyword matter number, but that's a very helpful field, and you might want to sort it on that. And you see off to the right, you'll see any fees that are involved in any of these filings. Okay? And so as the filing administrator, if I want to look at any of these filings, I simply click on the form set number and it will bring me into that filing and I can see the documents and other details about it. Okay? So right now what I'm looking at is everybody's filing, so created by all, everybody within the entire firm. But I might, for example, only want to look at a particular filer's filings. So let's say I only want to look at Donna's filings. And let's just say since September. All right, so she's been working on 14 filings since the beginning of September. And I can see there's a 5045 Associates case, Glenn Lockerbie, Wells Fargo, this Mid-First Bank case, a bunch of different filings, diversified some filings. Looks like those are works in progress, those incomplete ones, right? So I can see what this particular person is working on. And again, I can click on the form sets of any of these and actually see what what's going on with them, what the actual documents are. So that would be one way of using the search fields. Another is I could just put in a date range, and so let's see. The first couple of months of 2017, for example, just to give you an example. Okay, well, we were pretty busy then, 49 different filings. Okay, all right, so you can use these fields in combination any way you want to. So let me now talk about this keyword matter number field because it's very, very helpful. This is an optional field that you can apply to any filing. And when I say you, I mean typically the filer themselves, whether it's an attorney, a paralegal, legal assistant, whoever's preparing the filing is typically the one who's going to apply the keyword matter number to it. However, as a filing administrator, you can do this as well. It has nothing to do with the court itself. So this is only for internal use. And it's typically used for tracking either client activity or case activity. So let's say your firm uses a client ID system. Well, you would then put that client ID onto any filing that you do for that client so that later on you can track it, right? You can say, well, show me everything we did for that particular client last month or in the last quarter or, in all of last year, for example. Or maybe you use a case tracking system, and maybe it's an alphanumeric case tracking system. And so you apply the case tracking number to any filing pertaining to that case. And again, you can search for it and track it, okay? And so you'll see here some of these filings are using keyword matter numbers, others do not. But once you are using keyword matter numbers, it's a great way to find filings. So let's just pretend that our firm uses a client ID system and it's alphanumeric. By the way, it can be any character, even special characters can be used. So I, as the filing administrator, want to see what we filed on behalf of our client A-23456, and I want to see what we did for them in all of last year. So I'm going to look at the whole year for this particular client. and I want to see everybody's filings. So I click List. All right, well, we did 28 filings for them last year. And I see there's the Ralph Gleason case, the MidFirst Bank case, the Lamex Corp case. All right? And whatever search result you get here, anytime you're using this screen for search results, not only can you dig into the individual filings by clicking on their form set number, but you can also export this to an Excel file format, which means any spreadsheet software, Google Sheets, anything that reads Excel, which is essentially any spreadsheet software these days. You can bring it in to your spreadsheet software, which gives you full functionality that spreadsheets give you, right? Subsorting, adding up the fees, whatever you need to do. So this is a really powerful tool as a filing administrator to find any filing across your firm based on any combination of these parameters. Okay. So another thing that you can do is focus on the status of the filings. This can often be very helpful. And let me briefly explain the process that filers go through to prepare and submit their filings, and then talk about the corresponding statuses. So when somebody is preparing and submitting a filing through AZTurboCourt, it's a simple three-step process. And this is true whether they're initiating a brand new case or whether they're simply filing some additional documents into an existing case. And that three-step process is: step one, they answer a few questions. Step two, they attach their documents. And step three, they electronically submit everything. And when they're submitting, if there's fees required, then they'll pay their fees during that period, during that time. So answer some questions, attach your documents, electronically submit everything. Okay, so that's what they go through. It's a simple three-step process. For the statuses, and there are several that you'll see here, most of these are not relevant at all for you. So you can disregard most of these. I'm just going to bring your attention to the ones that are most relevant. Completed means that the filer finished answering the questions. So for case initiation, there are more questions because the court needs more information to actually start up the case. If you're filing into an existing case, you're still going to answer some questions, but there's just a few questions. In any event, completed simply tells you that I've answered all the questions. I'm ready to move on to attaching my documents. Okay, that's completed. Once the filer has attached their documents and electronically submitted it to the court, it changes from completed to delivered. Delivered tells you that the court has successfully consumed the filing. It's in their system. There were no technical issues. They've got all the documents, all the data, financial information, whatever was sent, it's all there, ready for the clerks to work on. Okay? And then once the clerks accept that filing, it goes from delivered status to e-filed. Okay? And once it's been e-filed, you're going to have access to the conform stamped copies that the court makes available and other things. Okay? So generally speaking, you're looking at completed, then delivered, and then e-filed. Okay? Now, if the person preparing the filing was in the middle of answering the questions and they got pulled away from their desk and they didn't finish answering the questions, that's fine. AZTurboCourt just remembers everything, saves everything automatically for them. But the status then of that form set, the status of that filing is called incomplete, right? Which tells them, hey, I still got to answer a few more questions before I attach my documents. Okay? And then there's always the possibility that the court might reject the filing. Now, that doesn't happen nearly as often when people are filing through AZTurboCourt because we work very specifically with the courts to avoid that. But we can't, of course, guarantee that the court won't find some reason to reject the filing. So obviously, if they do, then the status changes to rejected. Okay, but the three most common are completed, delivered, and e-filed. Okay, and so as the filing administrator, you might, for example, be interested in seeing what have we recently delivered that the court is still processing. Now, you may want to look at that based on a particular case number. Like, hey, do we have any filings for that case that we're still waiting on the court to process? Right. So I put in that case number, say, look for status delivered, and see if there's anything that's recently been submitted that we're still waiting on the court on. That'd be another way of using the search screen. Okay. And where it is particularly helpful is looking for your e-filed filings. Because, as I mentioned, once the status goes to e-filed, shortly thereafter, the courts make the conform stamped copies available to you, and they'll be available to you electronically through AZTurboCourt. Okay. Now, it's also very important for you to know that the way courts do business in Arizona varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So if, for example, you're initiating a case in Pima, their requirements are different than if you're initiating a case, let's say, in Santa Cruz County or Yavapai County. Okay? Or if you're submitting some documents to an existing case in Maricopa, their requirements are different than submitting documents in an existing case in Pinal, for example. Okay? So it's important to note this because AZTurboCourt reflects those differences for your filers, but also for you, the filing administrator. So you want to think of this as 3 different groupings or 3 different approaches to doing business in Arizona. So there is the Maricopa way of doing things, there is the Pima way of doing things, and then there is what I call the all other counties way of doing things. So basically any county that's not Pima or Maricopa, the rest of them, they all share a common approach. So the Maricopa approach, the Pima approach, the all other counties approach. Why I'm sharing this with you is because the timing of when they make their conform stamped documents available to you and how they make them available to you through AZTurboCourt is different. Okay? So let me show you those differences. And again, right now we are in the realm of being the filing administrator. All right, so first I'm going to show you a filing that was submitted to Maricopa, and it was accepted by Maricopa. Right. So its status is e-filed, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that form set number to actually look at the filing. Okay. So this was submitted by Karina. Maybe she's one of our paralegals, or maybe she's one of our attorneys. And so I see that there's a notice of appeal that she filed there in Maricopa on this case. And so the way AZTurboCourt makes the conform stamped copies available in a Maricopa filing is, as you see here, a stamped documents section. So right now I'm on the filing details tab. That's where you will automatically go when you click on this e-filed filing. And so if I click on the view link here, it will bring up from Maricopa their stamped version of this document. And then I can print it, I can save it to my hard drive, my network drive, whatever it is I need to do with that stamped document. Okay? So this is the way Maricopa makes their conform stamped copies available, is we set up an area called stamped documents. Now this is different from the Pima approach, which is different from the all other counties approach. So this is the Maricopa approach. So now let's take a look at the Pima approach. So from this screen, I'm just going to click List My Forms, and it's going to take me right back to that search screen. And so now I'm going to find, Pima filing that's been accepted. All right, so once again, I click on the form set number. And so notice there's no stamped document section. There's just your forms and attached documents. So for Pima filings, once they've been accepted and their status changes to e-filed, additional links appear. And wherever the court is stamping documents, you'll see these additional links. Sometimes it'll say court copy, sometimes it'll say endorse. It depends on what they're stamping. And so again, if I were to click on any of these links, I will see the conform stamped copy of that document. Now, they don't stamp all the documents, right? So supporting documents, for example, are typically not stamped. Usually only the main documents are stamped, as you see here. And let's give it a try. I'm going to go ahead and click on this court copy link right now. And so I'm actually making a call to Pima system right now, to their test environment. I think it's up and running right now. That we're connected with them. And so I've asked them to actually give me this document from their system And so let's just give Pima a moment. Hopefully they're up and running right now. Looks like they are. Yeah, great. So again, it's a fake filing, but here's the conform stamped copy from Pima's system of this particular document, and I can print it. I can save it to my drive, whatever I need to do with it. Okay. Go ahead and close that. So that's the Pima approach. They give you additional links here. Okay. Now the third approach, the all other counties approach, that is also different. And so once again, I'll click list my forms, and I'm going to find a filing from one of the all other counties. All right, so this is a Santa Cruz filing. Let's take a look at that one, Santa Cruz County. Click on that form set. Okay, so there's no stamped document section like Maricopa. There's no extra links other than just the regular view link. No extra links like you saw for Pima. So instead, when you are looking at a filing in any of the all other counties group of counties, the way to access the conform stamped copy is to click on the View Court Case Documents button here in the upper right-hand corner. Because when you click on that, what it's going to do is we're going to actually ask for the court to give us the docket, the electronic docket that they have. And so, and I think Santa Cruz is also connected live right now with us. Yeah, okay. So again, not a real case, so not a real docket, but you can imagine that this would be the docket. Whatever the court has electronically in their docket, you'll now have access to on this case. And so hence, any of these documents that the court has stamped, you know, the order, the stipulation, whatever, you know, they've accepted and stamped, when I click on that document, it's going to be the conform stamped copy from their docket. Okay, so when you're in the all other counties group of counties, that's how you'll access the conform stamped copies. You'll essentially go to the docket and then just grab whichever documents you need. And I'm going to return to that previous screen, that filing details screen, by clicking this filing details button here at the top. Okay, so I'm right back where we were. Now the other important thing to note is that this View Court Case Documents button is actually available for all of the counties. So this happens with Pima and Maricopa as well. So you can access the docket for Pima filings and Maricopa filings through this View Court Case Documents button. And this button appears only when the status of the filing changes to e-filed. So for example, if this filing was simply in delivered status, this button would not be here, okay? But the moment the clerk or whoever at the court accepts that filing, the status will instantaneously change to e-filed, and this button will immediately become available, which means you'll now have access to the docket on that case number, okay? It just happens to be that it's through the docket that you'll access the conform stamped copies for the all other counties group of counties, okay? So the three different approaches to accessing the stamped documents. And the other important difference between these three different approaches is the timing. When do they give you access to their conform stamped copies? So if the filing is in one of the all other counties group of counties, again, any county that's not Pima or Maricopa, then the conform stamped copies become available the very next day after the court has accepted the filing. So if the court has accepted the filing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they do overnight processing, and the very next morning, the conform stamped copies should be available. Okay, so that's the all other counties group timing. For Pima and for Maricopa, they process more readily, and so the conform stamped copies should be available an hour after acceptance. So if the clerk accepted the filing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the conform stamped copies should be available by 4 o'clock that same afternoon, and that's in Pima and in Maricopa. Now, we at AZTurboCourt actually don't have any control over that, right? It's just a matter of when the courts make those available. But that's my understanding as to when they're supposed to make those available. And basically, the instant they do, those links will be available through AZTurboCourt. Okay? So let me just click List My Forms again to go back to that original search screen. And so again, as the filing administrator, you can use all of these fields either one at a time or in any combination you need to find either a specific filing, filings on a particular case, filings for a particular client, filings by a particular filer within your firm, or really, any of these other criteria. And you can either dig into the filings by clicking on the form set number, or export them to Excel file format, where you can then, do whatever you need to in terms of having that list and putting that into a spreadsheet software. Okay, so there you go. That is the realm of your filing administrator. And so I'm going to go ahead now and log out, quit as the filing administrator. And I'm going to log in one last time as the financial administrator. Before I do, I also just want to bring to your attention, if you're ever needing technical support for anything regarding AZTurboCourt filings, let me show you the fastest, easiest way to get tech support. So at the top of the screen, you'll see a button that says Help. I think there may be some screens where it says Support. Again, one and the same thing, Help and Support. We use those synonymously. So you'll click on this button, Help, in this case. It brings you into our support area, and you'll see this Contact Us link. When you click on Contact Us, what you're going to notice is that there's an area dedicated just for Arizona court filings. And here you've got a direct phone number and a direct email address for any technical support issues you have with AZTurboCourt filings. This is absolutely the fastest, most direct way of getting technical support. So if, for example, you were to reach out to us, to AZTurboCourt, with a technical support issue, in all likelihood, we would simply redirect you to this phone number and this email address, because these are really the folks that handle all of that. Okay, so I wanted to bring that to your attention as well, if you're ever needing technical support. All right, so now let's take a look at the financial administrator. So I'm going to log in as the financial administrator for our firm here. This is Pauline. Okay, great. So once again, see, she doesn't have any filings here in the table at the top, because she also doesn't prepare and submit filings. She just happens to be a financial administrator for our AZTurboCourt account. All right, so from the perspective of the financial administrator, there are a couple of different things that they will be focusing on. In the user menu, you'll see a link called Financial, and let's click on that. And so once again, you have a search screen, very similar to what we just saw, but it's a little different because we're now looking at this from a financial perspective. But functionally, it's very similar. And so you could, for example, put in a date or a date range. And there are different date ranges depending on whether you're just using a date range or whether you're using a date range in combination with other fields. Okay, so for example, if you're not putting in any other fields, you've got a 90-day window of filings you can look at. But if you're, for example, putting in a keyword matter number for a particular client or a particular case you identified using the keyword matter number, then you have an unlimited number of filings you can look at. There's no date range. All right, so I'm just going to say since the beginning of August, see what we've got going on. All right, so our firm has 25 filings that have some sort of financial transaction involved since the beginning of August. So this is very similar to what you saw on the previous filing administrator screen, on their search screen. So each row represents a unique filing. But because we're looking at this from the perspective of the financial details, the default sort order is the transaction date and time. So the most recent transaction date and time will be at the top. But again, I can resort this based on any of these columns. Maybe we do use that keyword matter number, and I can see whatever that is, right? And again, any result I get, I can always export it to Excel file format. And as I scroll over to the right, again, I see financial information. And here I'll also see if the payment was made using a saved payment method, a credit card or a checking account that was already stored and saved for future use, and whatever that might have been named. So let me just scroll down here and show you some more interesting names. Right, so Stevens August MC 1020, whatever that is. right? So these are all different saved payment methods, and some of these filings were paid that way. If there's nothing listed here, it means that the filer just manually entered in a credit card or a checking account number to pay for the filing. So they didn't use a saved payment method. Okay. So again, from the financial perspective, that might be important to you. If you set up a credit card for people to use for some of their filings, then this would be a way for you to access what filings are being put on that credit card, how much money has been spent on that credit card in the last week, in the last month, whatever that might be. Okay. So these are a lot of different things that you can do as the financial administrator. Here again, you may want to see, well, what have we spent on this client? I know I saw from the filing administrator how many filings and all the different cases we were working on, but how much money have we spent? And so the financial administrator can focus just on that. So I want to look at what we spent in all of 2017 for this particular client. And so once again, I'll click search. Looks like 20 filings. And I'm just going to sort it based on the submission name. That's the case name. So there's one for the Lamex Corp case, a lot of Mid-First Bank case filings, a bunch of Ralph Gleason filings, right? And again, over to the right, who was working on them, Karina and Donna, right? How much was spent, what payment method was used. And again, I can export this to Excel and then group it and add like all the Mid-First Bank fees together and then all the Ralph Gleason fees together and then total them all together, right? Because spreadsheet software lets you do that. And so whatever your result is, I can export this to Excel, okay? And if you want, you can click on the transaction number to any of these, and it will give you basically a payment receipt with lots of helpful information. The case type, the jurisdiction, the form set number, the case number, if a keyword matter number was applied, the case name, details about the transaction itself, breakdown of the fees, and in addition to seeing this on screen, I can print a hard copy of this receipt, or I could simply click this same link and save it as a PDF so that I now have a digital copy. And again, I can save that to my hard drive or my network drive and have a digital copy of these receipts. Okay, so these are all things that the financial administrator can do. And so, again, if you wanted to see how much has been spent on a particular credit card, you could provide the nickname that was given to that particular payment method and then provide a particular date range and see how much was spent on that particular payment method, using that particular payment method. And I'll come back to this whole area of the payment account nickname in just a moment. Okay. All right, so that's your search capabilities. And then the other thing I want to point out to you, which, by the way, I think it's awesome. I mean, you've got real-time ad hoc access to any financial information for any filings across your entire firm in an instant, right? And then if you need to export it to Excel, you can do that, or you can just dig into the filings, whatever it is you need to do. But very simple and powerful access to all of the financial information of the filings. And again, you can do that for a particular filer, right? Like how much has such and such an attorney spent in fees on this particular case, for example, right? It's instant access. In addition to that ad hoc instant access, you can also ask AZTurboCourt to automatically email you financial reports on a regular basis. And so in the upper right-hand corner of this screen for your financial reports, you'll see a button called Preferences for Reports. When you click on that button, you'll see your options. Now, you can have financial reports sent to you weekly, monthly, or bi-monthly, which is essentially twice a month. Okay? And you have two choices here. You can have the financial report sent to you for filings across your entire organization. Okay? And if you yourself are also a filer, you may in fact be somebody who prepares and submits filings, and you're also a financial administrator, you might be interested in getting reports on just your own filings. Now, your filings are always included in the organization's filings, but you may also just want to see your own filings as well. So, for example, you might want to take a look at your own filings on a monthly basis and the entire organization's filings on a weekly basis. You could do that. Or maybe you don't even need yours separately. You'll just have them in the full organization list, and you can say, hey, I want those weekly and monthly. That's okay. And you choose your default sort order. This report is going to come as an Excel file format, so you can bring it into a spreadsheet. And so here are your choices for the default sort order. Okay. And then whatever you select, you can just click Save. You can change it at any time. And what that's going to look like I had that open. There we go. Is you're going to get an email. It'll look something like this, not exactly like this, but something like this. So, for example, if you requested a weekly report for your entire organization, you'll see an email. It'll say something like weekly payment report. It'll show the date range of the week and the total dollar amount and fees paid, and then the report is attached. And you can, again, bring it into spreadsheet software and do whatever you need to. See which cases those fees were for, whatever you need to look at there. Or if you requested a monthly report, right? So it's a monthly report, date range of the month, the dollar amount and fees paid during the month, okay? And so that's always available to you. And the other thing I want to just point out to you, let me just go back to this screen, is your individual filers have access to this as well. They simply don't have access to reports for all filings across the organization. So they won't see this top portion. But if they themselves want to get their own payment reports sent to them via email on a regular basis for their own filings, they have access to this portion where they can get weekly or monthly or bi-monthly payment reports for their own filings. So they also can do that. Okay. So there you go. That's the financial link where you can do ad hoc searching as well as request financial reports sent via email. Okay. Moving on, we also have those saved payment methods that I've been talking about. So let me briefly talk about the way payment happens for AZTurboCourt filings. Arizona uses a firm called AZTcourt to process their payments, okay? And so when the attorney, paralegal, legal assistant, whoever's working on the filing is ready to submit it, if there's a payment required, then when they click submit, we will take them to AZTcourt, and we're connected with AZTcourt, okay? AZTcourt will have all the details, the form set number, the amount of fees, and so forth. They know what jurisdictions it's for and all that. And the filer will then provide their payment information, credit card, checking account, savings account, whatever that happens to be, right? AZTcourt processes it, assuming the payment is good. We will then automatically send the filing to the court, and the filer is returned from AZTcourt back to AZTurboCourt, and they're told that their payment was successful. And at that moment, the status of their filing goes from completed to delivered, right? The court has everything they need. Okay. At that point, the filer is simply waiting for the court to process their filing. All right, so that's basically the interaction, from the financial side of it, from the payment side. What happens is that when I, as a filer, put in my credit card, for example, or my checking account, and I give it to AZTcourt, and it successfully goes through, and I'm returned to AZTurboCourt. When I'm first returned to AZTurboCourt, I am asked if I want to save that payment information for future use, right? So I don't have to keep typing it in each time. If I don't want to save it, that's fine. If I do want to save it, I'm going to give it a nickname, and that's what this is all about. It's a payment account nickname or save payment method, right? And so I would give my credit card some sort of a nickname, or my checking account some sort of a nickname. So the next time I go to AZTcourt, rather than me typing it in, I just pull it from a drop-down list of my saved payment methods, and voila, I'm off and running, right? So that's how that all works. financial administrator, you can pre-register payment methods with AZTurboCourt. You can pre-register a credit card or a bank account and then assign people within your firm access to use those particular payment methods. So let me show you that. In your user menu, you've got a link called Save Payment Methods. I'll click on that. Okay, that's a lot. You probably won't have this many. Yeah, definitely a testing and training environment. All right, so the way you pre-register a credit card or a bank account is you'll see here at the very, very top, it says click here to register a new credit card or bank account. So let's do that. I'll go ahead and click on that link, and it's going to take me now to AZTurboCourt. Now this is their testing environment, but we are connected live with them right now. So this is AZTurboCourt, and what I'm going to be doing is registering either a credit card or a checking or savings account. So if it's a checking or savings account, for example, I'd enter the routing number, the account number, select the type of account it is, either checking, savings, corporate, which for AZTurboCourt that really means corporate checking or corporate savings, right? You could optionally put in a check number, though when you're saving this, you wouldn't normally do that. When you're registering this, you wouldn't normally do that. And then for the account description, that's what you can use for the nickname that you're going to give it in AZTurboCourt. By the way, I don't recommend putting in explicit information about the account, like don't put in the account number or the expiration date, things like that, right? But some other, civil corporate MasterCard or something like that. So in any event, routing number, account type, and account description, and then the billing information for that particular bank account. And that bank account's either going to be under an organization's name, right, or a person's first and last name. This might be your checking account, for example, right? So it's either or, and then the rest of this billing information. And then when you're done, you click Submit, AZTurboCourt processes it, making sure that it's a valid bank account, and assuming that it is, it will then automatically return you to AZTurboCourt, where you'll have this now as one of your pre-registered saved payment methods. And likewise, for the same process for the credit card. Be on the credit card tab, and you're choosing from these different credit card options that are made available, right? And the card number, security code, if there is one, expiration date, again, then sort of the card description, the name for it, and then whatever the billing address is, okay? So that's AZTurboCourt. And then you're going to get returned to AZTurboCourt, and you're going to have it here in your list of active saved payment methods. Once you've got an active saved payment method, you can start assigning users within your firm to have access to it so that they can use it for making their payments for their AZTurboCourt filings through AZTurboCourt, okay? And so that's why you're seeing here, this one's been assigned to 1 user, 3 users, this one's been 9 users to have access to it, right? So whatever that is. So in order to add and remove users for any of your payment methods here, you simply click the Add Remove Users link for that particular payment method. This one currently has 1. And if you want to add more, you click Assign Authorized Users, and it will show you all of the folks that are active users within your firm. Okay. And you can select one or several. There's my new user, ZeligTest 10.10.3. Let's go ahead and give this one to him as well. And I'll click Assign Selected. And so now there are 4 users assigned to that particular payment method. I can remove any of them by simply clicking the X next to their name. And then when I want to return to that previous screen, I just click Go to Save Payment Methods. Okay. So now this payment method, whatever this is, now has 4 users. Okay. And so, for example, here's one with 7 users. I'll click Add Remove Users. And I'm going to remove these Zeligs, at least a couple of them. Okay, so now we're only going to have 5 people that can use that particular corporate account. Okay, so now I'm back down to 5. All right, now let's talk about credit cards, and editing any of these payment accounts as well as the expiration dates. All right, so first off, if you want to change the name of any of these, you can do that at any time. It does not affect the payment method itself. So for example, here's one called Karina's Brand New Visa 1118. Okay. Now, I could change that to simply Karina's New Visa 1118. It does not impact the payment method itself because the underlying sort of key code that connects it to the actual credit card that AZTurboCourt is aware of, that doesn't change, right? So what happens is AZTurboCourt gives us a key code which is essentially meaningless to us. So for example, we don't know, your bank routing number and your bank account number. We don't know your credit card number. AZTurboCourt stores all of that securely on their servers. What they do is they give us a key code, which, as I said, is completely meaningless to us. And then when you decide you want to save it and you give it some sort of a name, we're just associating this particular name with that key code. When we pass that to AZTurboCourt, they say, oh yeah, we know what that key code is for. It's for this credit card or it's for this checking account, right? So you changing the name does not change the underlying key code. Okay, so you can change it anything you want to anything you want. It also will not screw up your reporting, your financial reporting, whether you're doing ad hoc on-screen reporting or you're getting reports emailed to you. So if you change the name and you've already made payments previously, we know that. We'll capture all of that so that we make sure that this underlying payment method is reported on regardless of its name changes. Okay? Okay, so now let's talk about expiration dates. So I'm going to go to this one because I can see it's still good. By the way, please do not don't put your credit card number and your expiration date in the nickname. We do that for testing purposes. So this is a valid credit card. It looks like it's not expiring until November of 2019. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I no longer want this one to be used, right, by any of our filers. Well, you can't delete it because you need it for reporting purposes, and for auditing purposes. But what you can do is you can deactivate it. You can make it inactive. Okay. So there we go, AZ Visa and that long number. Okay. And all of a sudden, AZ Visa doesn't show up in this list because when you first come to the Save Payment Methods screen, which is where we are right now, we're only looking at your active payment methods. So it's no longer there, which means the next time any of your filers who were given access to use it, the next time they go to AZTurboCourt, it's not going to show in their list of available payment methods. You've deactivated it. But as the financial administrator, you still can run all the financial reports you need for any filings that were paid using that particular payment method. Okay? Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that some months have gone by and you want to start using that credit card again. All you need to do is reactivate it. You don't have to re-register it with AZTurboCourt. So from this same screen, instead of looking at your active payment methods, change your search to inactive. Find the one that you want, and there it is, and simply reactivate it. Click Save, and it's back in business. And everybody who was previously assigned to it, they're still assigned to it. Now, if you need to make any changes, obviously you just very simply click Add Remove Users. Okay. Lastly, let's talk about expiration dates for credit cards. AZTurboCourt does not automatically expire your credit cards. Now, there's a number of reasons for that, but suffice it to say that we will not automatically expire your credit cards. So, on that rare occasion when a credit card is going to expire or does expire, you're going to simply manually expire it. So, for example, here's one I see, 11/17. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm just going to come here and manually expire it. Okay, very simple. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, that credit card was reissued. Everything's the same. It just has a new expiration date. So that's fine. But this particular payment method is for a credit card that expired already. And there's nothing you can do with this payment method that you can like somehow override it, right? Because the payment processors, they know the original credit card, and to them, it's a done deal. It's already expired. Okay, so you can't rename it to say, hey, it's good now through 2024, or really anything like that. To them, even if the only thing that's changed was the expiration date to the payment processor, it's a brand new credit card. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll manually expire this credit card, which I'm actually not going to do right now, but that's all you do. You manually expire it, and then you would click here to register the newly issued one. Now, obviously, you're not going to have to do that very often. Credit cards don't expire that frequently, but from time to time, that will happen. Okay, so that's how you manage your credit cards. All right, so we've been looking at these saved payment methods from the perspective of the payment method itself, right? Like setting up a corporate checking account or setting up a Visa card, and then deciding which users to give access to it, right? So we're looking at it from the perspective of the credit card. But what about looking at it from the perspective of your filer? You may want to know, Ellen is one of our top attorneys, and we want to give her access to various saved payment methods. Which ones does she have access to? Well, you can't really tell that from this, right? We're looking at it from the perspective of the payment method itself. I don't know from all of these different lists which ones Ellen has access to. So that's where you come back to that My Organization link, and what I was showing you earlier, the assigned payment accounts area for the users, right? So now I'm looking at the individual users and seeing, well, do they have access to any of our pre-registered payment methods? So Alan, for example, here at the top, let me take a look. Apparently he's been given access to 3 of those payment methods. Let me click on there. Okay, now again, you're not going to have so many. Let me resort this to at least to get the active ones at the top. Okay, so I can see which ones that I've given him access to. And I can add, I can remove, I can do whatever I need to. Right, so I want to give him access to, let's see here, another corporate account. Let's just say, well, I don't know about this one, but let's just say this American Express account. Right, so he had access to 3. Now I checked another one. I'll click Save. Again, you're not going to have that long of a list. And now he's got access to 4 payment methods. Right? And so that is why, as a financial administrator, I do see the My Organization link. It's so I can manage each individual user's payment accounts here. But notice also that I do not have access to the Edit Organization Info or Add Users buttons, because I'm not a company administrator. I'm just a financial administrator. All right? And so, once again, what you can see and what you have access to depends on your login credentials. And as the financial administrator, I do have access to the My Organization link, but it's only from the perspective of managing each person's saved payment accounts, and if I want to assign any. Okay? So there you go. That is the financial administrator role and functionality. And so we've covered the company administrator and their ability to add and remove users, or I should say deactivate users and update their information and edit your company's profile and set up those global inboxes for status updates and incoming e-service announcements. Then you've got your filing administrator who has access to all of the filings across the entire firm, which means you can then also access the court dockets as well as the conform stamped copies of documents. And you have the financial administrator, right, who can run reports for any of the filings across the entire firm, do real-time ad hoc reporting, as well as have reports emailed to you. And you can also, if it's appropriate, set up saved payment methods and then assign who within your firm has access to those saved payment methods. So those are your 3 administrator roles in AZTurboCourt. So there you go. If there are any questions, you can use your mouse and click on that Q&A button. I'll stick around for another minute or so, or however long it takes to answer questions, if there are any. And the other thing I just want to say, two other things really quickly. First of all, thank you. Thank you for being an AZTurboCourt customer. We very much appreciate your business. And we would like to hear from you if you have functionality that you would like to see, or enhancements to any of the existing functionality. We actually love to hear from our user community. We're very responsive to them. It's often what drives new features as we come up with new releases. And so again, if there's enhancements to any of the existing functionality, or simply new functionality that doesn't currently exist that you'd like us to take a look at, please let us know. And the way to do that, the best way to do that, once again, just go to the Help Support area, click on that link, and if you click on Contact Us, you'll see at the bottom our email address, customerservice@turbocourt.com, and just let us know what sort of functionality would be helpful for you and make life easier for you in the world of e-filing through AZTurboCourt. If we have any questions, we'll reach out to you and ask for clarification. But by all means, feel free to do that. So thank you once again. Keep a lookout in your email inbox tomorrow. You'll get an email with a link to this recording. You're welcome to share that with colleagues if you'd like. And again, thank you so much for being an AZTurboCourt customer. Okay, have a good rest of your day. Take care.